All right, let's dive into Vitesse Energy. Their second quarter numbers for 2025 just hit the street, and wow, what a quarter it was. I mean, this was a massive one for the company, and believe me, the market definitely sat up and paid attention. So let's break down exactly what happened and what drove that powerful reaction. And when I say the market noticed, I am not kidding. On August 5th, right after those earnings dropped, the stock just surged, popping over 8%. You know, a move like that is a really powerful signal. So let's unpack what investors saw that got them so excited.
And here it is, the main event. The sheer scale of this earnings beat is what really tells the story. Analysts were looking for earnings per share somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 42 cents. Vitesse comes in and delivers 60 cents. And it wasn't just on earnings either. Revenue of nearly $82 million also completely crushed expectations. So this wasn't just a little beat, this was an absolute blowout.
Okay, so a performance like that doesn't just happen by accident, right? It was really fueled by two very specific, very powerful factors that absolutely defined the quarter for Vitesse.
The first big driver comes down to this number, $24 million. That's a huge one-time cash payment they received from finally resolving a multi-year legal settlement. Just think about that, a clean $24 million injection of cash straight onto the balance sheet. But here's the kicker. This settlement was so much more than just a one-off payment. This was the gift that keeps on giving, because beyond that cash, Vitesse also locked in new, much more favorable long-term contracts for their gas processing and marketing. So this single deal gave them a huge cash boost now and improved their profitability for years to come.
And the second key driver? Well, this was just pure operational excellence. Vitesse grew its production by a staggering 40% compared to last year. They hit nearly 19,000 barrels of oil equivalent per day. I mean, that is just a massive leap in output.
So you might be asking, where did all that growth come from? It came from right here. The successful, full integration of the Lucero assets they bought back in March. Management said the assets are performing great, and even better, they're finding more cost savings than they even planned for. So this acquisition, it's already paying off big time.
And all that operational strength, well, it flows right down to the company's financial health. Adjusted EBITDA was super strong at over $61 million, which helped them generate almost $22 million in free cash flow. And they put that cash to good use, paying down debt. Their leverage ratio is now down to a very, very conservative 0.4 times. I mean, this is a picture of a company in just excellent financial shape.
You know, these kinds of results don't happen in a vacuum. So let's take a look at the underlying strategy that makes all of this possible. It really boils down to three things: discipline, dividends, and their unique approach to making deals.
I think this quote from CEO Bob Giddy on the earnings call just says it all. He's saying the market for buying assets is hotter than ever, but Vitesse isn't just out there chasing growth for the sake of getting bigger. Nope. Any deal they even look at has to meet very high hurdles. And what's the biggest hurdle? It has to support or grow the dividend. That is an incredibly clear and disciplined message to send to your shareholders.
And speaking of supporting that dividend, this is exactly how they protect it. Vitesse has a really robust hedging program in place. Look at this, 71% of their remaining oil production for 2025 is already locked in at a price near $70 a barrel. This takes a ton of risk off the table and basically ensures they can comfortably cover that big $2.25 annualized dividend no matter what crazy things oil prices decide to do. Now, looking ahead to the full year, management kept their official guidance the same. But, and this is the kind of inside baseball you listen for on these calls, they basically said there's a pretty minimal chance they'll actually hit the low end of that production range. You know, that's a subtle but strong signal. It shows they're being conservative and hints that the great performance we just saw might have some serious legs. Of course, Vitesse isn't operating on an island. So let's zoom out a bit and look at the really favorable trends that are happening in their main playground, the Bakken shale. The technology in the Bakken just keeps getting better and better. It's incredible. Operators are moving from these standard horizontal wells to 3, even 4-mile laterals, which lets them get way more oil out of each well. Then you add in new techniques like refracturing old wells, and the entire basin is just becoming way more efficient. And since Vitesse is a non-operator, they get to benefit from every single one of these improvements without lifting a finger. And you know, there could be a major catalyst just over the horizon. Chevron is in the process of taking over Hess's amazing assets in the Bakken. The team at Vitesse sounds pretty optimistic about this, speculating that a huge player like Chevron coming in could really ramp up the pace of activity in the whole region. And that, of course, would be a huge tailwind for Vitesse.
So, that's the quarter, that's the strategy, and that's the landscape they're playing in. Now, let's get to the most important part. What does all of this mean for the future?
Let's put it all together then. After a blockbuster quarter like that, what is our final take on Vitesse Energy?
Well, the case here is really compelling when you lay it all out. They are just executing flawlessly on the operations side, their balance sheet is stronger and de-risked, their approach to capital is super disciplined, their dividend is durable and well protected, and on top of all that, they're riding these powerful industry tailwinds. Each one of these points just reinforces the others, creating a really powerful picture of momentum.
So based on this strong operational momentum, their financial discipline, and that crystal clear focus on shareholder returns, our rating on Vitesse Energy is a confident outperform.
And now for our trade idea. Given how conservative management is sounding with their guidance, we think a calendar spread is a really interesting way to play this. So what is it? It's a strategy where you buy a call option that's further out in time, and at the same time you sell a nearer term one. The whole thesis here is pretty simple. You're making a bet that management's quiet confidence will lead to more outperformance down the road, making that long-term option more valuable. It's a strategic bet on that understated momentum we're seeing.
Look, Vitesse's quarter was just a potent mix of smart strategic wins and top-notch operational excellence. The path forward looks really strong. But as always, remember that this analysis is just for informational purposes. You have to do your own research. This is not financial advice.